President Calvin Coolidge had a simple philosophy about government: do nothing, or failing that, do very little.
4/5 of all our troubles would disappear if we would sit down and keep still.
Coolidge could afford to follow that advice. For in the 1920s, the United States enjoyed the greatest economic boom that the world had ever seen. In a single decade, industrial production almost doubled. Wages rose and work hours went down, so many Americans had more money and time to snap up new consumer products like automobiles and radios.
The business of the American people is business.
And the president made it his business to unleash the free market. With the help of his Secretary of the Treasury, Andrew Mellon, Coolidge slashed corporate and personal taxes, allowing the rich to increase their share of national wealth. By 1929, 5% of American families controlled 30% of the nation's income.
Because the prosperity is concentrated into a smaller number of people, it's harder and harder as the 20s go on for ordinary people to consume the enormous number of goods that the economy is producing.
As inventories piled up and manufacturers cut back on production, corporations and individual investors plowed their money into the stock market.
The stock market is located mainly in New York City. It allows various Americans with money to buy bits and pieces of corporations. The corporations will sell stock in their own company. In the 1920s, there were not very many regulations that pertain to the owning and selling of stocks, at least far fewer than there are today. And one of the main things that happened was that people were allowed to buy stocks on what was called on the margin. That is, they didn't need a great deal of money to purchase stock. If stock cost, let's say, $100 a share, people could take $10 to buy a share. This meant that people could buy enormous quantities of stock for very little money. They were eager to do so because stock prices were rising.
A speculative fever seized investors as people traded stories of humble street peddlers who became overnight millionaires by playing the market. But the binge of speculation and buying on margin had inflated the price of stocks way beyond their real value. And by 1929, stockbrokers had lent out billions of dollars in loans to their customers, money they would never see again.